Hi guys, I thought I'd do another video. This is on that Philco. Thought while I had it on the bench I'd kind of dig into it and see what's going to have to be done to it, and one thing led to another and kind of got into it. So I am still working on the Admiral TV, and the next video will be another video on it after this one. I'm not sure exactly when I'll be getting that one up, but I wanted to kind of go over what I've found and what I've done so far. I went ahead and after cleaning the chassis up and getting all the dirt off of it, I found several areas of rust. Just small areas, but a lot of them. So I took, and if I can get this to tilt, probably not, but I went ahead and painted it. I'll flip this down here after a bit. It's got the transformer on it, which is quite heavy. The other thing was, well, to start out with, in the process of checking stuff out, I found that doing leakage test with the ICO capacitor tester, virtually every cap in here was leaky, some of them extremely leaky. So I went to the process of restuffing them. They were actually quite easy. These things here are real, they don't take much heat. The potting material they used in them is very similar, if not exactly the same, as the Philco Bakelite blocks, which takes very little heat to soften it up. So basically all I did was heat one end and heat the other end, and then just shove them out after I disconnected the wires, and it just shoved right out. And what you find in them is this. That's all there's inside those. It's just a roll of foil and paper potted in there. Now on 4 of them they had a resistor also in them, which was just a bundle of wire. I went ahead and just replaced it with modern resistors inside the tube. And the tubes were quite interesting because they're not cardboard, they're some sort of phenolic or plastic or real thin bakelite or something, but they are not cardboard at all. And as far as these guys here, they just come out real easy. That's one of them there. This stuff is quite easy to break loose. The wax that's in these is kind of a clear type wax. You can see some of it here, but you don't have to heat them. These were wrapped in paper, which is back inside. I went ahead and put it back in when I put the caps in. So once you disconnect the lead, it just pulls pretty much right out without any problem. Now I restuffed the main can, filter can. So I threw away the caps, but this box I went ahead and painted up, but it was plumb full. I mean, it was packed in there with 8 caps. Basically it's it's the same design as what these are. There's 2 caps here, except on a larger scale. So pulled them out, cleaned them up, cleaned everything up, and then just soldered these on. I got them numbered so that makes it easier for me to get them hooked back up in numbered order, because the schematics got the numbering on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. Choke and transformers and everything has been fully painted. Now, things I ran into, all the resistors except for one was right on the money. They were within 1%. And the one that's off is not a real big deal. It's not off enough for me to even be concerned about, but it's about 25% off high. And I'm not too worried about it. It makes up a voltage divider for dropping the voltage on the screens, the screen grids of the 24s, so RF tubes. So worst case scenario, they're supposed to run around 95. They might run 90 volts, which will be perfectly fine. The other things I ran into though was I had already talked about it earlier. The audio transformer had an open in the primary on one side, but I had an Philco speaker. It was a smaller one, but it used the same transformer, so I took it off of it. Speaker goes to nothing. It's just a speaker I got with a whole bunch of other stuff, and which was a good thing because I had to pull the field winding out of it and use in this speaker, which it used the same field winding too. The only difference in is about 2-inch difference in size of cone, which is totally destroyed on this speaker, on the parts speaker. But the field winding was open, and it was open because of corrosion. I opened it up, unwound it, hoping that it might find a break towards the end, on the outside, and yeah, I did. I found about another 26 breaks before I finally gave up on unwinding. Plus the fact that the darn thing was just a green monster. It was so corroded. So corrosion took it out. We had an open primary here. We also have an open primary on the interstage transformer, which sits over here. What I'll do on that, since they weren't really using the primary a whole lot of DC ohmage evidently on that primary, because they got a 25K resistor that feeds, is actually playing more as the plate load for the 27, which will work just fine. So all I needed was, I'll keep their resistor, disconnect the primary, keep it unconnected, which it is, and connect in a 0.47 microfarad capacitor across to feed the secondary. And so I wanted to hide that, so what I basically did was made my own tubular capacitor like they had, which is right here. Being there were some black ones in here like this one here and others, so I found basically what this is an old coil out of an old radio. It was with a bunch of parts and the coil was open. I just unwound it off, cleaned the thing up, took most of the terminals off except for 2, and closed the holes off with some hot glue, bent the tang around the mounting so it would be the way I needed it to fit it in here, and made a little label and put on it. And it's not quite the same, but it'll work. In a quick glance you won't really notice it too much. I also made new labels for these guys because they were gone. I suspect someone had put a new cord on this. I don't know if it was the previous owner or the person they got it off of, but when they pulled the bottom off, the labels on the part labels probably fell off the caps, and they just didn't even pay attention that they probably dropped the floor. Although the main filter cap, the label for it should have been right here on the bottom, and not only I don't really see any signs of one, I didn't repaint this part, but I don't see how it could have got anywhere because this sets down tight against the chassis, and when it's bolted in, and it don't appear to ever been bothered. So it might have never had a label on it. But these did, or at least this one showed signs of what looked like an old, what been a label there. So I just printed them out, glued them on, and now they do have labels on them. Other than that, all the tubes test good. The output tubes are right at just barely good. They're on the low end of the scale, but they're still all right. And everything else is good to go. All the coils, antenna coils, or the RF coils, antenna ones here, and then the other 3 RFs. Well, the 4th RF too. They're all good. The mica caps, there's 3 of them in here. They all test good. They're right on the money with the using the ICO, which is difficult down in that on one of them, which is only 50 picofarad. It's kind of hard to get it. It was reading about 20 above that, about 70 picofarad, but the leads themselves, the wires themselves here add up, and that would change anytime I moved them around. So when you're getting down that range, you don't get too concerned. But the main thing was they weren't leaky. I cranked them up to full voltage to them, and they never leaked. So anyway, this is where I'm at, just in the process of slowly getting things put back together. I had pulled every screw out and everything, so that the surface was good. Let's see if I can get this to rotate down like this. And I still got to get the grid cap put on this one. This was that one that was real bad, that someone kind of wired up, and I don't know, it was a mess. And so I went ahead and replaced all 3 so the wires look the same, so I still have to put the cap on this one. Clean these up yet, but as far as the rest of it, the rest of the chassis has been repainted and in good shape now. Got to do a little shining on the antenna post, ground post, and local post. That's just a little brasso on those, and they'll clean right up. Did get the potentiometer cleaned up, and for the volume control. Now I had to do a little work on it. Mainly it just wasn't making good contact to the center wiper. That was no big deal because it all comes apart. It's got a set screw, so you just tighten it up. And now it's working fine. The switches, I had to spray some contact cleaner in those and got them working good. Otherwise they were a little intermittent at first. So what's left to be done, we'll finish wiring it up. I've got to clean up the tuning capacitor and get it all cleaned up and lubed up. Get a dial string on it because it was missing, and get the other parts mounted back on, get it mounted on, and we should be getting pretty close. There'll be another couple videos on this as time progresses. As I move along, and anything else I find, or anything as I start putting it all back together, I'll make another video further along in the process. But like, you know, I got this project going, I got the Admiral going, I got parts waiting for a couple other projects, and so I'll be kind of simultaneously working on this and working on the Admiral TV at the same time. And I'll be making the next video will be on it, where I'm at on it, and so that'll be in a few days. So I just want to thank everybody for their comments, and thank you for watching and stuff. So I'm gonna end this video now and get it uploaded so you guys have something to watch. And and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening.